Hello and welcome to Gangs All Here. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of the show. He is Brian Costello, the Jets beat writer from the New York Post. And there's our guy, Frankie Vittorini from U Stadium. We're here to talk about Jets football as usual. The season continues to spiral for this team as they are now 4-11 on the season. They're playing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo this week at a 1:00 game. We're not going to talk much about that game considering the enormity of just how no one cares about this game really at this point of the season. It's week 17. We just had Christmas. But we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, his future. We heard about his comments on Pat McAfee. We'll break that down. Frankie and I will debate whether or not you're for or against in keeping Aaron Rodgers in 2025, and Kaz will help us settle that debate. We'll do some player picks, and we'll do some predictions at the end. But before I get to anything else, fellas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Start with Kaz. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. Ate too much food. Had a lot of prime rib yesterday, which was nice. And I opened some good presents. Gave some good presents as well. Frankie, how you doing, man?
Doing well, guys. Doing well. I got this gift here. I don't know if I'm able to wear it. I don't know what you guys think. Is this something I'm going to get ripped for if I wear this, or am I good? Am I good to put this on? Did I put it on? No, I'm not putting it on.
Wait till February, Frankie. And
there we go.
When we're off GM, and there's hope back in the Jets universe.
The Jets will be off-season champs again, right, Kaz?
We're the best.
We're the best at that.
Hope from February to August. There's always hope.
There's always hope. And the Jets always keep the headlines as the winners of that. But fellas, let's start about this Aaron Rodgers thing. So we've talked about it so much on this show about the future Aaron Rodgers. We've asked Kaz multiple times. You know, there is a strong case for why he should not be quarterback for this team in 2025. We know what's led up to this, and there'll probably be more breakdowns of, you know, when the Jets decided to go all in for Aaron Rodgers before the 2023 season and trading for him. And unfortunately, that 4 plays in week 1 ruined that season. And then he comes back to 2024 and he's played every single game, but the team only has 4 wins. But the stats say something different, right? But there's so many different elements into this Aaron Rodgers saga for the New York Jets. And the big question that will be for the new GM and head coach going into 2025 is, do we want to carry Aaron Rodgers onto this roster and let him be the quarterback bridge to if it's a young quarterback, or do they decide to cut bait and get a different quarterback leading this team? So, Kaz, I'm going to start off with Frankie here. We're going to do a little case for and case against, and we'll let you be the, let's call it, you know, judge/arbiter of this discussion and where the debate can be for a lot of fans, because that is what's going on social media right now. Is fans are arguing, listen, Rodgers is putting up good numbers if you look at it, and then other fans are saying, I can't deal with the off the field, you know, him just voicing his opinion and the red line stuff and all of that. It's not working out, and it's a 4-win team, and there's something missing there. So there's 2 different sides. I'm going to start off with Frankie though, because I think this is where a lot of people are probably leaning towards. Maybe I'm wrong, but Frankie, you have the case to make for why Aaron Rodgers should be cut after the season and no longer be the Jets quarterback in 2025.
By the way, I cannot believe we're arguing different sides here. If you would have told me this like 3 months ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But all right, I'm going to make this short and sweet. Not that I'm usually good at doing that, but I'm going to do it right now. The Jets season is a disaster, right? We have won 4 games. They are one of the worst teams that we've ever seen. And the problems aren't because of talent. The problems are really because of coaching, because of a mindset, because of issues that really stem outside of what the players actually can do, but it's about what the players aren't able to do because of all these other variables. Coaching, maybe ownership decisions that are not in line with what the general manager wants to do or what the head coach wants to do, firings in season. In my opinion, and I'm coming from a place where this guy, Aaron Rodgers, came into a situation where we thought that he was going to be a quick fix, almost solution for really foundational issues where this core is rotten, and he is not the kind of leader, or I don't even know if anybody, if we're being honest, is the kind of leader that would be able to, as a player, a quarterback, come into this mess and fix it. There are issues at the core, there are issues at the top, there are issues in between, however you want to look at it. There are so many issues with with just a belief. There's not a belief or a structure or a system in place where you're going to be competitive. So at this point, instead of trying to run it back again, this is like getting back with your ex for a third time, not a second time, a third time. I get the second time. I've gone back with an ex before too, a second time. It never works out for a third time. It didn't work out for a second time either. AKA why I'm still single. That's another conversation. But
Frankie likes the girlfriend analogies. I'm starting to worry about him. The ex-girlfriend analogies. Shit there. He's down that road.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what, man? It's rough out here in New York City. But I'll say this: this team needs a complete actual rebuild. I'm sick of retooling. I'm sick of pretending like everything's okay and we're just a quarterback away. No, we're a quarterback away. We're a head coach away. We're a GM away. We're a right tackle away. We're a left tackle away. We're a running back. It's always something else. I don't even know where the problem, where the biggest problem stems from. I don't. I'm not going to blame the owner. I'm not going to blame the head coach. I'm not going to blame this person, that person. There's so many little problems, I think, and it's just the sum is greater than the whole to a certain degree. I'm just ready to move on completely. Let's stop lying to people and fans, and let's just start rebuilding the right way. And I don't think bringing Aaron back again is going to put us in a position in such a short window where that makes any sense whatsoever.
Kaz, any thoughts before I go back to him on that one?
No, you give me. I'll save my thoughts till the end.
Okay, so here's my thoughts about.
Can you also rank our arguments on a 1 to 10? Which ones?
So I have been on the case with Frankie, but diving deep into the numbers here with Aaron Rodgers, and there's still, you could look at a bunch of different numbers here, but you look at the touchdown to interception ratio. Rodgers has always been one of the best in his career at this. This is a quarterback that is coming 1 year removed from major Achilles surgery. He missed all of last year in 2023, and he was hampered by a broken throwing thumb in 2022. The 2 straight years of injury, not playing top quarterback play. Rodgers has somehow turned the clocks a little bit back here towards the end of the year, where he dealt with that leg injury that he had talked about to Kaz and the members of the media, saying he was hampered, but not like giving it as an official excuse. But it seemed like that was really what was hampering Aaron. And after that Patriots game, when he gets hurt in that Broncos game and twisted up underneath, he never really had the mobility in and out of the pocket to make plays downfield. He gets Davante Adams after the Houston Texans game, before the Houston Texans game, and he's starting to find the chemistry there with Davante. Again, let's not forget, he was not with Davante there for a whole year, or a couple years actually, without playing with him. And now he's back with him, and he's trying to develop that chemistry back. They are starting to click. They have found something again in their old ways, and they're starting to run a little bit of the same that they were in Green Bay, which helped Rodgers win MVP. I have a question for both of you. When you look at the numbers, do you know that Aaron Rodgers has the same amount of touchdowns as Jordan Love, more than Matthew Stafford, more than Justin Herbert, and only 2 less than Patrick Mahomes this year? All of those quarterbacks, I am bringing them up because they're all playoff quarterbacks right now. Also, Aaron has 3,500 passing yards, more than Jordan Love, more than Justin Herbert, and only 60 yards less than Matthew Stafford. He's right up there. In QB rating, he's right there with some of these other top quarterbacks. He's up there. Now, you could argue it's stat padding at the end of the season, but Rodgers statistically is actually one of the better quarterbacks this year in the NFL. He's not the best. He may not be MVP, but if you're telling me I can get Aaron to perform at this level, and he's also going to break a lot of Jets QB franchise records this year at the end of it, why not bring him back? Now, the cap hit's going to be the cap hit in 2026, but the options out there are not better than what you're currently getting from Aaron Rodgers. Will you have to have him learn an offensive system? Most likely. Will he change plays at the line of scrimmage? Most likely. But I've seen it happen with Green Bay when you brought in a Matt LaFleur. He learns the new offense, and he can have an MVP-like year. You have absolute studs in Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. You have 4 out of 5 pieces on your offensive line. This offense just needs a right tackle if you're not bringing Morgan Moses back, a promising young left tackle. They need to find a tight end that can actually catch the ball and run some decent routes, but they have 2 stud wide receivers if you keep Davante and somehow extend Garrett Wilson with a stable of running backs led by Breece Hall and Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. It's built for Aaron to come back and actually have success with the same pieces around him and build some chemistry. You can make an argument he could even be potentially better next year. He's not going to be mobile. He's not going to be fast, but he'll be able to deliver the ball from the pocket and pick a lot of these defenses apart with his mind. And if you have the right support system around him, and hopefully a better defense to help play with them too, because that was something Rodgers thought he was getting when he came here to New York, a top 5 to top 10 defense. They have not been that. If they could somehow figure that out, let's not forget, this is a team that's 2-8 in one-score games. You flip the script on half of those games, you're talking about 6-7 wins. And you're talking about a team that could potentially be in the playoffs, considering how the rest of the AFC has turned out this year. That's my argument for keeping Aaron Rodgers, because the options out there are simply not better.
All right. Well, I think you both raised good points. And I think it's a compelling argument. And I think if you're looking strictly on field, I get what you're saying, Ryan. I get the numbers. I think the numbers are somewhat hollow because I would argue, like, how many memorable touchdowns were there, right? Of those 20, what does he have, 24 right now?
24.
Like, how many of those were memorable? How many of those were game-winning touchdowns? How many times did he come up when they needed him to in these fourth quarter situations with the ball in his hands? So, the Jets never run the ball in the red zone. And I'm convinced that's Mr. Rodgers checking out of runs to throw touchdowns. So the touchdown numbers get inflated there. His touchdown to interception ratio is great because he very rarely takes chances down the field. The numbers have gotten a little inflated lately because I think the Dolphins defense was bad. I think the Jaguars defense was really bad. So that's been inflated a little bit. But your argument about there's not a better alternative on the field, I think you're probably right. I mean, we've banged through, Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, or I don't know, who else do you want to go with? Like, there's not many good options out there. I don't think Sam Darnold is coming back here. I don't think that's working. So, I think that part of it's right. I just think there's too much that comes with Rodgers for a new coach. Like, and this wasn't really your argument, Frankie, but I wrote this the other day, is I'm just picturing a new coach here, right? Like Aaron, when Aaron and Saleh, like he pushed him and all that stuff was going on, and everyone's like, "Oh, he hates Saleh." I'm like, our boss Ryan Kershaw asked me, does he hate Saleh? I said, no, he doesn't hate Saleh. I don't think he hates any of his coaches. Like, he clashed with McCarthy, he clashed with LaFleur, but it's not about disliking the guy. Aaron Rodgers is never going to have a coach that he thinks is smarter than him, right? That's who he is. Like, he thinks he knows more about football than maybe anybody. And he thinks the ball in his hands is the way the team is going to win the game. So that is going to lead to clashing with coaches, right? And so if you're a new coach coming in here, let's say that go with the two options. If you're a first-time coach, it's really not going to work. Like, that's really going to be hard for you. I think it was very hard for Matt LaFleur. Remember when Aaron Rodgers left Green Bay, what we heard, now Matt LaFleur can run his offense. He hasn't been able to run his offense for these years with Aaron Rodgers. Now he can run his offense. If you're an established coach, which Vrabel, I don't know who else, Pete Carroll, or there's not that many in that bucket. I just don't think you're going to want that. I don't think you're going to want to come in. I think you're going to want to establish your own program, and you're basically getting him for a year, right? I don't think any of us think he's going to be on 2026. So I think that's tough. I think to Frankie's point, I don't completely agree with Frankie that it's a total rebuild. Like, I've seen total rebuilds here. 2021 was a total rebuild. 2013, 14 was a total rebuild. I think, though, you do need a fresh start. I just feel like there needs to be a freshness around this team. I think there's going to be – it's so toxic right now, like with the fan base, and so negative. There's going to be hope here in a few weeks when there's a new head coach and a new GM. I think moving on from Rodgers also is part of that. I just think that – I think a fresh start in 2025 with you have new coach, new GM, new quarterback, and it's probably a bridge quarterback. It's probably not the answer, but that's the way I would go. But I think it's a compelling argument because of Ryan on the field. You're right. If you're just going to go, is the next quarterback, like, he's going to end up with, he might break Namath's record. Like, he's probably going to end up with around 4,000 yards and around 28, 29 touchdowns. It's going to be very hard to find someone to do that next year.
It really will.
All the other stuff off the field, I think, and just everything that comes with Aaron Rodgers, I think this team kind of needs to move on.
Yeah, so it seems like, not seems like, you are saying, Kaz, that you ultimately feel the freshness, the new start needs to happen this offseason, and that involves
I just
cutting Aaron Rodgers.
give me the situation where a coach comes in and it, like, so I like, you may have seen the press conference after the game. Like, they threw the ball. They had 44 dropbacks against the Rams and 19 runs. Okay, it was 20 degrees. Aaron disagreed with my premise that you run the ball when it's cold, but when I grew up, that's what we learned was like, to be a team in the Northeast, you need to have a running game, because when these games hit in December and it's cold and it's windy at the Meadowlands, you run the ball. You can't convince me that Todd Downing called 19 runs. Like, there's no way. And it's been all season. They have the fewest rushing attempts in the NFL. The fewest rushing attempts in the NFL. And it's not like they've been out of games. There's really only been 2 games where they were really behind, with Arizona and San Francisco, where they fell really far behind early. The other games have all been close. And Breece Hall's a good running back. And Braylon Allen has potential. And Isaiah Davis has potential. So Aaron Rodgers, I think he runs his offense. And I think that's tough for a new coach. The other thing I'd say, Ryan, is you raise the injury issue. And like, could he be better next year because he's a year removed from Achilles? Yeah, maybe. But now we're going 2022. He was hurt with the Packers, right? He broke his thumb. And I think there was something else there too, but I remember the broken thumb. 2023, he tears his Achilles. 2024, he's had a hamstring. He's had an ankle. He's had a knee. He now has a knee injury again that he suffered Sunday. He's 41 years old. Maybe he's not going to ever be able to make it through a season now without getting hurt, because he's, trust me, I'm a lot older than you guys. I wake up and my shoulder hurts, my knee hurts, my ankle hurts, and I don't play football. So I just think, I think that part of it, like, he's probably going to be a little bit better because he's removed from the surgery, but I don't think he's ever going to be able to make it through a season without getting hurt. And I also don't think he's ever going to be the guy who says, you know what, this team might be better with Tyrod at 100% than me at 80%. I don't think he's ever going to say that.
No.
Kaz made 2 good points that I didn't bring up, and you're 100% right. Will a new head coach here want to deal with Aaron for a year? That's probably the best point of the bunch. I just, I'm on this like rebuild it the right way train where I sort of forget about, the year or 2 years. I'm kind of thinking into the future. And the other point he made is something I thought about, Rye, the other day, that I don't think Rodgers is going to be able to play another season without getting hurt. I hate speculating like that, but we even saw last game that scare towards the end when he took that sack. I mean, he's getting old, man. He's breaking down every year. When you're into your 40s, it starts becoming even more and more magnified as to the issues you're having. I don't think he's going to be able to play another year. You are right, Rye, that he's the best option today if you look at the bridge options, etc. But I mean, we'll see.
I just wonder if, let's say the Jets, I'm going to play this what if scenario for the Rodgers thing. Let's say the Jets hire Mike Vrabel, and Vrabel's a well-respected man, and he's a guy who's been there. He's won. He's, he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet, but he's proven to build a playoff contending team. Does he command enough respect where Aaron Rodgers needs to learn whatever that new system is, and Vrabel is going to have the final say of, I'm benching your ass if you're not playing well or if you're injured. And if you're not in that right situation where I'm running the team, you're not running the team, Aaron. And it's not your side of the ball. You're running the offense and I'm running the defense. Because I think that's what ultimately happened here with Saleh and Rodgers. Do they find a totalitarian head coach where it's my way or the highway? It's my culture. It's what we are doing here, because that's how you eliminate the toxicity. Does Aaron have enough of, quote unquote, what is he, humble pie? Does he eat enough humble pie that he's preached to the media? He's preached to us as fans. Eat your humble pie. You need to eat your humble pie. You're putting up good stats, but your team won 4 games this year, and they're probably not going to win any more the rest of this year. You were leading the quarterback all year long. You can use the injury excuse if you want, but again, to Kaz's point, and I'm sure if he were to be here in 2025, the media would ask him, what are you going to do to help protect yourself? How are you going to prevent these injuries from happening? The Jets could say, we'll try and rebuild this offensive line, get a great offensive line coach to protect you more. We'll run the ball more. But Aaron needs to eat that humble pie and understand, to what Kaz is saying, I need to be bought in to what the head coach is selling here for the change in the culture. And I need to be able to say, if I'm going to win here, I need to buy into that. And that's the best way forward, because that is what Tom Brady did in Tampa Bay. He bought into Bruce Arians' culture. While they clashed because they both had offensive philosophical differences, and Brady did get some of his guys brought in there to Tampa Bay, they still ran Bruce Arians' offense. They still ran the hell out of that ball at Tampa Bay with Leonard Fournette. And that to me is how you can win here. Is if you have Aaron buy into what you're selling as the new culture. Though?
I agree with you. I just don't think he could. I don't think that's even in his DNA.
That's a cause question.
I don't think humble pie is in his diet, Ryan.
But he preaches it to you guys.
He preaches
it to us. You guys, I don't think so. And I just don't. I think he and Vrabel would clash. I don't know Vrabel at all, but I don't think. I think the only coaches that Rodgers can really be successful with right now or work with right now are desperate ones, and that was Saleh. That's why they brought him in here. Or was he's known from the past and has a relationship with that know what they're getting with Aaron and can kind of finesse it. But yeah, I just don't see it working. With the Vrabel. And I think it'd be tough too. Vrabel's going to want to establish his culture, right? That's what everybody wants. That's why you guys all want Vrabel, right? Yep. Come in. Well, Aaron's going to be a bigger presence in the building than any coach who comes in here. He just is. That's just who he is. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Mike Vrabel's not. So he's got 4 MVPs. Mike Vrabel was a good player. He wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Mike Vrabel's been a good head coach. He's not Bill Belichick, though, walking in here with 6 rings where you can say, shut up here, So I just can't picture it working in my head. That's the part I can't get past. I just can't picture it. And I also think, guys, by the way, I was talking to people there. I think Vrabel's heading for the Raiders. That'd be my prediction right now, is that he's going to go to the Raiders, because I think the Tom Brady connection there will be strong. And that's where the murmurings in the league have him going to Las Vegas. So I don't think he's going to be with the Jets.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, and it makes sense for them too. They're saying they're linking Shedeur Sanders with Vegas too, so that'll be a situation that they probably want. You'd want of Mike Vrabel. You'd want a Shedeur, an actual potential. I
think Brady's gonna. If Brady's, it sounds like Brady's gonna be heavily involved, as a minority, more heavily involved than most minority owners, and obviously he loves Mike Vrabel. Everyone knows that from their years together, and when. I think the Bucks and Titans practiced together when he was on those Bucks, and so I think that's probably where he's heading.
Man,
yeah, right. We knew it though. Did you actually ever think Vrabel was going to come here?
I'm saying it could look, money and stuff changes things. So there hasn't been, he hasn't been able to talk contracts with anyone yet. So maybe in 2 weeks the Jets open the Brinks truck and convince him to come here. But the belief around the league right now, from people I talk to, is that he's going to go to the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I would throw the John Gruden contract at him. 10 years, $100 million. Come change the Jets forever, please.
Oh, wow.
Save us. That's what I would do. I think he's that much of a difference maker.
You think he's that good of a coach?
Yeah, I do.
He doesn't want anything.
He did it with Ryan Tannehill and Derek.
He never won a Super Bowl. You're talking
about.
He
went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, and lost.
But, I mean, everyone's lost to Patrick Mahomes.
No, but you're talking about a contract that you'd throw at somebody who's got some rings, some hardware.
I mean, I'm not throwing that contract to Bill Belichick. I'm throwing that at Mike Vrabel because he's young, he's a culture setter, and he's proven to build offensive systems that work.
Well, Belichick, you wouldn't give it to because of his age.
Right.
If Belichick was 60, you might give it to him. But
I don't think people realize with Vrabel how stern he actually is. Yeah. If it's not his way, it really is the highway. And that's not a bad thing, but it could be if players don't buy in. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, and also
I
people
think he's
in the building,
tougher than Belichick, if you're man. I think he's even more stern. Belichick does it in a different way, but Vrabel really can piss people off. And Ryan, I don't know if that's going to work here, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm sick and tired of cuddling to the players. Good players, you pay them. Hey, you're a great player. We're going to give you a monster deal, and you're going to win here. That's my sell. Vrabel's way wins. It does. The guy comes
until it doesn't, and then it's a disaster.
There's a lot of ways to win, though, Ryan. Is Andy Reid that way?
No, Andy Reid's not that way, but also Andy Reid's got the greatest quarterback ever.
He does, but he was pretty successful in Philadelphia too before he had him. He didn't win the Super Bowl. He went to four NFC Championship games in the Super Bowl, or I can't remember. But
Mike Vrabel's been to a couple championship games. I mean,
yeah,
come
he
on.
hasn't won like Andy Reid.
I know.
My point is, you can do it different ways. Like everyone goes, "Oh, you got to be stern." Like there's very few stern head coaches if you actually look around the NFL. I think Tomlin does it, but Tomlin has like such a unique style. Like
he's a swag.
He does it, but he does it in a way he doesn't seem like watching the Hard Knocks now. Like he holds players accountable, but he doesn't seem like he's not screaming at them and that kind of stuff. So it's tough to do that in 2024. It's just a different age. There's no Bill Parcells anymore. So I don't know. I hear you, but I also think you can win other ways. I think you can win like Tony Dungy. Never said a curse word. You can do it all different ways. You just have to be a good head coach.
Yeah, I guess my thing is, and we're not going to get into head coaches until the season's over. I just don't think there are other options out there right now currently that you're going to name me that I'm going to buy into and say, yeah, that's a winning way. Like new offensive coordinator, first time head coach, Aaron Glenn, first time head coach, another.
But the reality is, right? The reality is none of us know.
Right.
So if you go back to 2021. And the Jets hire Saleh, and the Lions hire Dan Campbell. The Saleh hire was praised by everybody, including the three of us, I'm going to assume. Dan Campbell was like, people were making fun of him, the kneecaps comment, and like they were joking about it. And it's like, and look how it's worked. Like you just don't know. And that's the hard part of this is because like, whenever they hire someone, you guys or someone else, what do you think of the hire? Well, I'll tell you in 3 years. That's the reality of it. I thought Saleh was going to be a good head coach. It didn't work out. Like you just really never really know. Sometimes like Sean McVay, I think people were really high on him, but even then it was like, oh wow, he's really young. Like, is that going to work? It's hard to predict. So it's like a Liam Cohen. Is he going to be a good head coach? I don't freaking know. I don't know. I don't know the guy at all. Like all I know about him is he calls Tampa's offense. So it's hard to predict this stuff.
I thought Gase was a good hire. I love that Gase hire. When they hired Gase, I loved it. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't as big on the Saleh hire as most people. I was on board, but I wasn't. I was ecstatic when we hired Gase. I probably shouldn't be saying this right now.
Wow, Frankie, you're the one, huh?
I'm the one. I went live on Twitter. Listen, I can't say I wasn't because I went live on Twitter, so like it's out there. But I love his offensive scheme. I thought what was a good offensive scheme. Manning liked him, and he was kind of tough and kind of a prick. I was like, oh,
that's exactly Manning's offense.
You don't ever know though. Like
you don't know, and like also he had no players. Like that was the Gase. Like look, Gase's first year now looks like the high point of the last 10 years for the Jets. But
Gase was better than Saleh here, I think.
He had like you go back to the 2020 season. I did it before they played San Francisco and look at who was on the roster. Like, it's incredible how he had no players at all. So I know Gase gets killed, but he had no players. It's just. So it's a complicated mix. If it's going to work as a head coach, you need a good roster, you need a good GM, you need good support, you need luck, you need injury luck and other stuff to go right. So,
All right, so we'll talk about the quarterback, the head coach part again when we get to the offseason. The quarterback thing. So Kaz is in favor of cutting bait with Aaron Rodgers. We heard his comments on McAfee. I've never been cut by a teenager before, so that'd be a first. Sarcastically being asked about that because of Brick Johnson and the hit piece, done by the Athletic over there. So, Kaz, if they cut bait with Rodgers, this was a wild what if scenario. Sam Darnold's having an incredible season with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to know what I'm going to ask you right now.
Yeah.
If the Vikings bring back Sam Darnold and they give him a huge contract extension because JJ McCarthy. Do the Jets go down that path?
What's the price, Ryan, is my question.
Right.
So, I would explore it. I think it's interesting. I'm not sure I'm giving up a first-round pick, though.
No.
Well, like if you're Minnesota, you just used a first-round pick on him last year. So you're not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll give him away for a couple threes and you're going to want something for him. I think it's probably a conditional pick of some sort. Like, right? Like, is it a 3 that becomes a 2 if he starts 12 games, or does it become a 1 if you go to the Super Bowl, something like, something crazy like that? Yeah, I'd explore it. I mean, I was not a big JJ McCarthy guy coming out of college. So I'm not in love with it, but I would think about it. And if the GM comes in and he loved JJ McCarthy there, why not? I think it's a lottery ticket that you're buying. And then you pair him with somebody else, Tyrod or someone else that might be starting the season. I'm not sure where he is health wise. Where he had surgery in August, right?
Yep.
So I think he'd probably be okay by next year, but he's probably going to miss the spring, I would think. But yeah, I would explore that.
Frankie, what do you think about that scenario?
I mean, I'm on board with Kaz there. I mean, I would explore it. I think they'd want our first round pick, obviously. So if it's 7,
Top
8,
10 pick for a guy who just came off a major injury.
Well, factor this, right? Last year's draft or whenever.
I think you're talking 2026, actually, Frankie. I think they look at a 2026.
Yeah, that's probably more feasible.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at the value. Yeah, I think they're looking at the value of what the pick is worth today. What like you'd be right though, Kaz. It probably wouldn't be 25. It would be 26. So it wouldn't even matter if it was.
Yeah, conditional tied to what he does in 25 is what I envision.
Yeah,
it's hard for them to ask for the 2025 first round pick.
Yeah, no way.
You're now giving them a pick that's better than what they used a year ago.
Yeah. Listen, I wasn't a big fan of JJ McCarthy out of college. I went to the combine, not to get into like the scouting stuff. I was just looking at him. He was there with Bo Nix and Penix and some of the other players. I thought he was clearly behind Penix, and I thought Penix was clearly behind Nix in that draft coming out. And I'm doing some film, breakdowns. I like his potential. He's really good at everything, I would say, but he's not great at one thing. And I think he'd have to have another year or two right here. But if they want to explore it, it could make sense. But I think, again, we're trying to force the issue. We're trying to figure out quarterback for 25. And I think we should have our eyes set on 26, in my opinion. I just think let 25 kind of happen organically. Don't do the bridge. Don't do the JJ McCarthy route and wait until things build organically, properly. In my opinion, I'm not saying I'm right. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I'm curious about how that goes because of the drought, right?
Yes.
Because you're right. They should just let these guys come in and do what they need to do and think about winning in 2026. But the 14 years is now just this freaking cloud, and it just swallows everyone here. And I can see Woody, wanting to push that gas pedal and just wanting to end the drought. And, like they did in 2015, right? When they signed Revis and Cromartie and Marcus Gilchrist and Buster Screen, they did that whole spending, traded for Brandon Marshall. They did that whole thing to try to win quickly. And they won 10 games but didn't get to the playoffs. Where I think you hope you are is I think you hope you're the 2017 Bills, right? Those guys ended a 16-year playoff drought, and they drafted Josh Allen the next year, right? They were really a year away, and they still found a way to end the drought. So, can you have just a solid enough team that might be able to squeak into the playoffs and end that drought? But I am curious to see if the drought weighs on, if Woody, pushes the button here that they have to go full bore for 2025.
Well, wouldn't that mean bringing back Aaron Rodgers?
Maybe. The other factor we didn't talk about Aaron Rodgers is how Woody feels about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And just judging from Aaron's comments, it doesn't seem like they're particularly close these days.
No, it doesn't.
And obviously Woody, he mentioned however he did it. He mentioned benching him after the Denver game, or whatever you want to believe, how sternly he said that. But yeah, I mean, Aaron's much closer with Christopher than Woody. So you wonder if Woody's just ready to move on too. That's the other part we don't know.
Yep. And then finally, the other name we hear is Mr. Kirk Cousins, another old quarterback coming off an Achilles. His time in Atlanta is all but up. They have officially moved on to the Michael Penix era. His contract is ginormous in the cap hit they'll have to eat next year for the Falcons, but all signs are pointing towards them coming to a divorce there too. Do you go visit the Kirk Cousins route and believe that he's 2 years removed from an Achilles and maybe you get a better play? And here's my argument for Kirk Cousins. He's a veteran. He's won. He won't cost you much because he's making a boatload of money coming from Atlanta, and he knows how to get the ball in your star wide receiver hand. Justin Jefferson had insane stats with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback, and he knew how to get him the ball. He can do the same with Mr. Garrett Wilson, who I really want to get the ball in his hands. And I understand the targets are one thing, but things need to be put in context. There are times in the game where Garrett is completely just phased out of the game plan altogether by Aaron Rodgers. I think Kirk Cousins can keep him going from first quarter all the way to the end of the game and keep him in the offense throughout.
And he has a green tie. You remember that story? He had the green tie and the purple tie. His wife bought him before he picked the Vikings over the Jets.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
2018.
Yep.
Yeah, I would be open to Cousins. I have not watched the Atlanta Falcons much this year, I must confess. So I don't really know the context of what happened there and whether how much was on him, how much was the supporting cast. I would have to sit down and kind of watch his season a little bit before I'm like, yeah, go get him. But like I do agree with the premise. Like he's always been a good quarterback. He obviously had a ton of success in Minnesota, like you said with Justin Jefferson. I think he's a guy who's not going to rock the boat. He is going to cost hardly anything because of the contract. So yeah, I would be open to that. I'd want to know a little bit more about what went down in Atlanta and why they decided that it was time to move on from him. But because that's a lot of money to eat. I know they drafted Penix, but that's a lot of money to eat. So what really happened there? I'd like to know.
I think. Go ahead, Frankie.
I was going to say quickly, I've been looking at Atlanta a bunch this year. I know Nick, my partner at U Stadium, he's obsessed with Kirk Cousins. He cannot get it more. He can't get enough of Kirk. Honestly, he's obsessed with him. We've been watching a bunch and like going back and forth, sending clips. Cousins was awesome in the first half. When he's feeling good and he's sort of got his offense one step on, ahead of the defense, or like understanding what sort of schemes the defense is running, and he feels confident back there and he's feeling good physically, he'll light you up. He had a game this year, Kaz. You saw he threw for over 500 yards.
4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah, versus
it's the games though where the scheme isn't there and he's not feeling good, and then he's a sitting duck back there. He can't do anything.
He can't move, right? So like that was the one thing I've noticed with Kirk Cousins. He can't move at all. Now, he never was really that mobile before the Achilles injury.
Made it worse.
He's always been a pocket passer himself, but you could make that argument again to the Jets have 4 to 5 pieces for this offensive line. Another year of continuity. If you bring back Morgan Moses, who I think is a very good veteran and actually gets rid of that toxicity in the locker room and is a good leader in the locker room. I don't know, Kaz, you could speak more to that, but if you bring him back, you have an offensive line coming back 2 years in a row.
Here's my question for you on the offensive line. I think they've been great in pass protection. They can't run the ball worth a damn, and they can't, there's these short yardage situations. They can't pick up a freaking yard. Now, is it the offensive line? Is it the scheme? I don't think it's the backs. I think the backs are pretty good. So, but I have questions there. And I wrote this story. I wrote it on Christmas Day. It's in today's paper on Thursday. To me, we're we've already started debating the head coach. We're going to debate, this guy and this guy and this guy. The biggest question is who are they bringing with them staff wise? And offensive line coach is near the top of my list of who's their offensive line coach going to be? Because I'd argue the last few Jets coaches, what's killed them partially is their staffs. A lot of them have hired their friends. They've hired first-time coaches at positions, and it hasn't worked. And if you go back to Rex, go back to the glory days, Bill Callahan was a huge, huge, huge part of this team's success in 2009 and 2010. Mike Westhoff was a huge part of the success. Bob Sutton helped Rex as a veteran presence. Even, Pettin and Anthony Lynn went on to become head coaches. Schottenheimer, as much as people hated him at the time, well, 14 years later, there hasn't been a better offensive coordinator here since Schottenheimer. So, Rex had this really good coaching staff early on in his tenure, and some of it was he kept from Mangini. And I think that was a big part of the winning at that point. And then Rex's staff sort of deteriorated, and he went down, and then the other coaches haven't had good staff. So, to me, when we talk about the offensive line, the offensive line coach hire is going to be huge. But what do you guys think? I know we say, they have 4 out of 5 or Moses. Are you comfortable with this offensive line though? Run blocking?
I think it's scheme. I'll be real. I don't think Keith Carter is a good offensive line coach, and I think you're subtly saying that, but not at the same time. Like Keith Carter's been crushed in the media by former players about how his coaching
That's
style
more
is.
about him being a jerk than anything else, though. I don't necessarily like. He also Derrick Henry ran for a hell of a lot of yards with
Derrick Henry's an all world talent. I mean,
I get it, but you do need holes too. Like Derrick Henry can't run if he doesn't have an offensive line. Like they had success. Like Keith Carter gets some credit there. So he can be a jerk to players. That's what the whole players criticizing him comes into. I don't think they're like, his gap blocking scheme isn't great. Like I just don't like. There's a magic to Bill Callahan, and there's a magic to Jeff Stoutland in Philadelphia, and like I can't really name anyone else who's in that category. Like Dante Scarnecchia when he was in New England.
Scarnecchia, yeah.
Right? Like there's very few guys. You got this little magic to them as offensive line coaches. Like you get that in your building. I don't know. I think that goes a freaking long way.
Chris Forster from the 49ers. He's been there since 2021. The 49ers have an incredible run scheme, though. I mean, you watch the tape. They got wide receiver, they got halfbacks and tight ends in the backfield doing whip blocks, running different motions. I mean,
the Shanahan system a little bit.
Right. But I think you need a good system, though, like an advanced offensive run scheme. I mean, I told Frankie this. LaFleur was actually a good offensive coordinator. He just was the bad quarterback situation, and they shouldn't have rushed Zach. LaFleur ran some pretty good run schemes. I remember, do you remember this, Kaz? The Green Bay game. That Breece Hall touchdown. That was one of the best run schemes I've seen this Jets team run since the Rex era. And those are just power blocks, but by Rex. But like that was an actual creative run game. Like they were able to get Breece in space in between the tackles.
Yeah, he was good.
I have a few notes here. Kaz, I've been thinking a lot about this, and Ryan and I have been going back and forth. There's 3 reasons. One is what Ryan just brought up. It's not, there's not enough misdirection. There's not enough being done to confuse the defensive front during the course of a play, actually, that you find yourself having open gaps. 1. 2, I think the personnel is an issue too. I think we have great potential pass blocking linemen, but not necessarily run blocking.
That's what I was saying.
What you were saying. Elijah Vera Tucker, now with the injuries, doesn't have that base anymore. Tittman's been struggling a little bit to like be a mauler. I don't think we have enough maulers up front. And third, and maybe the biggest reason here, number 1, I'm telling you all, Breece runs like he's in a tunnel. He has tunnel vision. The guy does not have peripherals where he's, taking a side step or being patient. He gets the ball and he's literally just trying to find that first, piece of daylight. And he is not setting anything up. Did you see the quick toss in last week's game? That toss on the left? Go look it up, Kaz and Ryan. Go look up. He had freaking 40 yards, like it was nothing for him, for his standard. He got 3.5 yards because he literally just took the ball and ran behind 3 of our linemen, or tight end was in there too.
I also think our tight end blocking's been pretty god awful.
Terrible.
Being honest with you.
Yeah,
but he's not patient. He doesn't set things up, and Breece is.
What do you think?
Disappointing you this year. He's averaging 4.1 yards a carry this year.
He's had a bad year. He's had a bad year for sure.
Do you notice that, Kaz, that he doesn't set anything up, or like he never does a cut back where you're like, oh, he found that daylight. Like I haven't seen it at all this year.
Yeah, you're right. Usually, if he has a good run, it's just a burst.
Burst in the first lane that was somewhat.
There was a run against Jacksonville. It was pretty good. I do think he's banged up.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
That's part of it. But and to me also, the running game is a rhythm thing where you have to, even if it's not working, you got to keep going to it, go into it. And all of a sudden, maybe it starts clicking. These guys, I don't feel like they ever run the ball 2 times in a row. It's like, it's run, pass, run, pass, run. Like, I don't know. And I could be wrong. Like, I'm not looking at the play sheet, but like, that's what it feels like to be watching the game, is they just don't ever just kind of, I know establish the run is a cliche, but they just don't ever kind of just stick with it and just try to build it. And like that, and Breece and Braylon Allen, I think, is that guy for sure too. Like, I think Braylon Allen is a guy who he's a bigger guy. He needs multiple carries, and then he's gonna go 3, 4, 4, 8. Like you gotta kind of give it to him. So yeah, the run game has been awful this year,
Yeah.
And I think they really need to examine what happened there.
How's Adams going to get Rodgers' 500th touchdown if they're running the ball every play? Like
well, and if
that
I'm in
pissed me off, guys. That really the fact that they even care about that stuff and fans are supporting it. Don't get me started. I don't want to have a meltdown.
Here's the other one I can tell you they care about. He wants the Jets' single season passing record.
I hope he doesn't get it.
Somebody in the locker room.
Sorry.
Somebody in the locker room asked me to they knew how many yards he had to. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They knew how many yards he had to average the rest of the season, and they're like, there's some record, and I'm like, what record? And like the player didn't know. They're like, I don't know. They're like, they told us he needs to average 250 yards a game to get this record, and like it's some record, and I didn't know at the time. And I'm like, and then I figured out like last week, I'm like, oh, it's the single season passing record for the Jets that he can get. So they want that shit now, especially the season's over, so they want that stuff. But if I'm now Sean McDermott and we're in the red zone, I'm putting like 3 guys on Devontae because he is going to force the ball to Devontae. He doesn't just want the 500th touchdown to like Tyler Conklin. He wants the 500 touchdown to Devontae Adams in a bad way. Like you saw that with Garrett running open on that play.
Oh yeah,
he throws the fade. Oh,
the 100th
fourth down, cause we're throwing fade balls on 4th down in the red zone when Garrett's just running wide open like this in the middle of the field, right in front of Aaron. Hey, buddy, I catch a catch, and that's my favorite part. Like he had 7 targets last week. He had 3 targets up until that 4th quarter, like that last drive. I mean, it's just everything is.
The Garrett thing is fascinating to me because, like, I don't think. Like Garrett's frustration, I think, is multi-level. I do think a big part of it is the losing. I think that's a huge part of it. I think I've seen this before with guys. It's just they come here and they go, well, I'm going to be the guy that changes it. Like, there's no doubt. Like, and like I think for them, it was like there was like 4 of them together. It was like, wait, how the hell are we going to keep losing with 4 of us here? And now they're 3 years in and they're double digits again. So I think the losing is a big part of it. And yeah, there's just times where they don't target him at all. Because even, like Jacksonville, they threw the touchdown to him in the first quarter, right? And then it was like he disappeared after that for a long time.
It was the Devontae Adams show.
Yeah.
They can coexist, but just you need to get him in. He's open.
We talked about this. Remember, Ryan? Remember when we debated the trade? This is why I was against the trade.
I know, and you were spot on.
He was right, Kaz. I wasn't on the show, but I don't think, or I came on after. He was 100% right, Kaz.
I really thought he was going to mess up Garrett, and I think he has.
Is he not talking to him? Is that real? Do you think that's I heard a rumor he's not talking to him in the locker room.
I don't think that's true. I've seen them talk on the field. I don't know about the locker room. Their lockers are Aaron. You mean Aaron and Garrett?
Yeah.
Yeah, their lockers are on opposite corners of the locker room. So I wouldn't see them talking in the locker room, honestly. And it's not like the guys hang out there when we're in there the whole time. So I don't want to, but I've seen them on the field have interactions that they look okay. I don't think it's like that.
Like he's not alienating him, right? Like
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. But I think
Rodgers has targeted Adams 94 times this year. If you put that throughout, the pace of 17, that's 177 targets, which last year would have ranked second only behind CeeDee Lamb. And they targeted CeeDee to death last year because they had nobody else to throw to. You have Garrett in the same span as 73 targets, which isn't bad. It's good. Before that,
for the season, he has a lot. He's 140, right, for the season?
Yeah. But before, during the Adams
there was that
span,
one crazy game in
22,
London, right?
I think, or 23.
I think in London, he was targeted like so many times. Yeah.
So it's funny, and this goes back to a little bit of what we're all talking about here. I'm looking at Breece Hall's game log. Breece Hall has never had 20 carries in a game this year.
Yeah. What's his most?
18 against the Buffalo Bills in that 23-20 game, where he went off for 113 yards in that game.
Yeah.
You're not using your best when you could make the argument.
And again, I know I don't know much about football, but to me, it's 20 degrees at MetLife Stadium. It's hard to catch the ball. Like it hurts your hands to catch the ball. It's the wind might take the ball. Like run the freaking ball. Like what did the Rams do?
They ran.
The Rams gave the ball to Kyron Williams over and over and over again. Like what Stafford have 110 passing yards?
Yeah.
Right? Because Sean McVay doesn't know much about football, but he decided to run the ball. Like That was the game to me. I'm like, oh, this it's free. It was. You guys didn't go to the game, did you? It was so cold. It was that kind of cold where like it hurts your face, right? Like it was so cold. Like God bless the people who went to that game.
No, I was in the city actually that day, looking at the tree, and I was freezing my ass
You're
off.
freezing. So I just don't get how the game plan wasn't like, let's just go in and run the ball over and over, but just bludgeon them to death,
Because we need the 500th touchdown. We need to break the Jets' all-time season passing record
and
eat humble pie.
He can't be back next year.
We need humble
be back next year.
But we need humble pie. We need all eat the humble pie, Kaz, that Mr. Rogers is talking about.
What about Braylon Allen, guys? Braylon Allen had 2 carries last week. The week before, 2 carries. Can we give our 4th round pick? Can we give our rookie running back a game where he gets 10, 15 carries and let Brees get healthy?
Well,
how is this? What are we doing here?
That was Jacksonville to me, right? Because Brees wasn't healthy. Like, just go away from Brees.
2 carries for 5 yards. Get 2 carries again for 5 yards.
This is the fascinating thing, I think, and we're breaking this down, is that there's so much more to the argument of why and you should and shouldn't keep Aaron Rodgers. Mind you, Kaz, before we did this whole, I make the argument for keeping him and Frankie not. I don't want Rodgers back, mind you. I just making the argument for the entertainment of the show. I think he's washed, to be frank, and I think there's a lot of plays, not just forcing the ball to Aaron Rodgers. There's plays they're drawing up where guys are running open and his eyes are never even going towards those wide open players. And he has tons of time to throw. And you're just looking at it like, whoa, this is not Aaron Rodgers prime. Like, this is just a guy who just is laser focused on either one person, one read, and I'm making it or not. I'm over it. I'm over it. I think they're cutting bait, like you said, Rod, Kaz, and we'll ride off into the sunset with Brick Johnson cutting Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so let's talk about this game this weekend. The Bills. We have nothing really to break down here, but the Bills are favored by 9.5 in Buffalo. Kaz, last week for props, you went 4-5. You are currently 54, 42, and 1, so up 12 units on the year. I only have a couple of prop bets here because they still haven't released much. But
it's supposed to rain on Sunday, right? Give me the
75% chance of rain and 51 degrees last I checked in Buffalo.
49 on my phone, 80% chance of rain.
80. Okay, so right around there.
What a sloppy game.
They'll still throw the ball 45 times.
Oh yeah, we'll still throw 45 times, 100%. So I have Josh Allen, 236 pass yards, 1.5 pass touchdowns.
I'll go under on the yards, over on the touchdowns.
Under on the yards, over on the touchdowns. Okay. I have Aaron Rodgers, 234 pass yards, 1.5 pass touchdowns.
I'll go under. 1.5, you said touchdowns?
Yeah.
Yeah, under.
Okay. And then the last one I have, because again, they have not released much, Devontae Adams, 70.5 receiving yards.
I'll go. That's a good number. It's going to be right around there. I'll go over.
Over on yards. Okay. So that is
I'm going to switch the Rodgers touchdowns to over, Ryan. Switch the Rodgers touchdowns to over. He'll have 2.
All right. So Kaz thinks he's going to get that 500.
501, baby.
501.
Ryan, when he does 500, we're going to pop a bottle of Prosecco, all right?
The prop bet odds of who will catch the 500.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Give me
Adams
Malachi
minus 5,000.
Malachi Corley plus 10,000.
Right? Healthy scratched him all year. We've just been distracting you. Now we're going to use him. All right, Kaz. I'll actually go to Frankie again here. We all picked the Rams last week, so we all went 1-0 on that. If you're wondering, Kaz is now 10-5 on the season for predictions. Frankie is 1-2 now, and I am 8-7. You got your first. So I'll start off with Frankie versus the Bills. What do you got?
Got the Bills. I know we're not doing whether they're covering or not, but I'll go with the Bills in a 3-point game. I think Buffalo didn't look too good last week. I think they're going to take the Jets for granted because why shouldn't they? So I'm going to go 24-21. Pretty simple.
Whoa, that's a Ryan score right there.
24.
Yeah, 24-21 Bills. I think they'll easily win a close game if that makes sense.
So is that a close game that they win at the end, or is that it's 24 to
yeah, it's 24
14.
Yeah, 24-14. We got a late touchdown. Maybe
yeah.
Tyrod Taylor, if you want a real prediction. Tyrod Taylor ends up.
You keep
doing-
saying that all the time. You're like, Tyrod Taylor is going to come into this game. Tyrod Taylor is going to come into this game.
I'm telling you, he's going to come in soon. They want him to come in. You see him? He's warming up like he's out there. I'm telling you, he's coming in soon, right?
No, they want Rodgers to break. Well, Rodgers wants to break that record, and everyone's bought into that. Kaz?
I mean, yeah.
I'm close to Frankie here. I think the Bills win, but don't cover. I'm gonna go Bills 20, Jets 17. So a little bit lower scoring because of the sloppy conditions in Orchard Park. The Bills, they can't get the 1 seed now, right? The Chiefs won, so the Chiefs are the 1 seed. I still think though they still are playing for 2 or 3 seed, right? Like the Ravens can catch them. So yes, they have a little bit to play for, but again, yeah, I don't think they're going to be firing on all cylinders here against the Jets. So 20-17, right?
All right. I have the Bills covering 27-14 over the Jets. This will be a 13-point win for the Bills. They'll cover the 9.5. I got the Bills winning. Josh Allen hit the anytime touchdown. He loves scoring touchdowns against the Jets on the ground. That's a hammer lock right there. I mean, don't be surprised. They try to run the ball down the Jets' throat because the Jets just can't stop the run. This season cannot end quick enough for us, Kaz. That's a show.
Almost there. 2 games. 2 games left.
2 games. Enjoy the slop in Buffalo, Kaz.
I got some wings for you guys.
Nice. What's the place? Duff's, Kaz? Is that the
Duff's
number
is a
one?
good place. Barbell is the place now that's become the very popular place among the writers, and I think in general, it's a place called Barbell. That's
it's good.
Yeah, it's very good.
So you,
like
Canizero, Serby, who else is going?
I know Serbies. I think it's me and Canizero.
All right.
Yes. So we'll see. Canizero probably has more highfalutin plans than Buffalo is. He's more of a gourmet than I am, Ryan. But I'll probably be getting some wings with the fellas at some point.
There you go. Kaz, we appreciate you as always for settling the debate here about the Aaron Rodgers situation. We did some predictions. I think we'll talk to you after the new year. Yeah?
Yes, right.
All right. So happy New Year.
New Year.
We'll see you in 2025, and we'll be that much closer to hopefully a new Jets head coach and GM getting there. 2 more weeks, man. Appreciate you, guys.
All right, guys.
Guys, happy New Year. You're the man. Enjoy Buffalo and take some pictures of those wings. I wanna be there with you, but not, I can't. So,